decisions to be made.
There is.
Vince is tomorrow at the Midland, but starting with this one, there's 3 great shows on Friday night at 3 different venues. One of them, Ben Folds. I've seen him twice. My daughters are big fans of his. I saw him at Crossroads. I saw him at whatever they do. Anyway, 2 different venues, outdoor venues. It's a great show always. He's a crazy man up there, and his songs are funny, and I don't know what his backstory is, but when somebody's been married 6 times, something's going on.
Yeah, I was going to say when we were talking about Mark Knopfler, inviting Vince Gill, and I was going to say, well, Mark Knopfler doesn't seem to have any ego issues. He's very comfortable with himself, and is not worried about being outshined. But I would say that Ben Folds has got a pretty big ego. I've interviewed him a couple times, and he's brilliant, and he's really clever and really smart.
And he knows it, right?
And he knows it. He just assumes he's the smartest guy in the room, or the smarter guy on the phone. And but I really love his shows, and he always choreographs some kind of sing along where this section sings this part, and then this you sing the mid part, and here's a high part, and we practice, and then when it comes through in the song, it's really exciting to be part of that. Just to hear 2,000 or 3,000 people putting themselves into it and taking it seriously, and it takes the show to an extra place, I think. Mm-hmm. And his songs are clever. My wife's a big fan. I've seen him with Ben Folds 5 a couple times. I saw them when that first record came out in '95, and I've seen them a couple times. I saw them with the Kansas City Symphony twice at the Kauffman Center. That was great. It was funny. I mean, he is funny, but somebody yelled out a request a couple times, and he could stop and said, "Okay, look at all these musicians. They all have sheet music, right? Because they need to know what's coming next. So we have a set list, and I can't just throw in another song. Okay?
Yeah, this isn't a 4-piece band we're playing with here.
No, this is a symphony. Okay, so get that out of your head. But, yeah, he just stopped the show,
No.
Ixnay on the request. But, so yeah, it'll be fun. And the Violent Femmes are playing, and they're fun. Not a huge fan, but I like the songs of theirs that I like a lot.
And as I said, there's difficult decisions to be made on Friday night. The music, there's different genres, certainly. So I guess maybe it's less difficult than I think. But if you appreciate good music at Liberty Hall, making movies, and I know you're a fan, with Mariah the Mexican, good chance to see a band that's from here and is cranking it out.
And on the rise, they got this connection with the Ruben Blades, and it came out that he had heard their music when he had just won his umpteenth Latin Grammy, and they were talking to him, whatever network it was on, after the show, and asking him about younger bands coming up, including some of the bands that were on the show. But he went right to making movies because he had heard one of their songs and said, "I'm really impressed with them." And he mentioned that they were from Kansas City, so he had done some homework. Making movies, someone in their management had heard it and tweeted it, and then Making Movies heard it. Anyway, so I ended up writing a story about it and what he means to them. I talked to Enrique Chi, he's the lead singer. And anyway, so that got back to Ruben Blades. He read the story and was like, "Oh, these guys are big fans." So they ended up connecting, and they've done some studio work together. And as I wrote on this piece, back in 1980s somewhere, Ruben Blades wrote a song with Lou Reed that just coincidentally was about immigration. Well, immigration is Making Movies' big issue right now.
This is a fundraiser.
It's a fundraiser for immigrants and migrant workers, and because Enrique and his brother Diego they're Panamanian, and the other two are Mexican heritage. So they are chest deep into what's going on. They sell T-shirts that say "We are all immigrants," and so it's a passion for them. So Ruben Blades remembered the song. He had a demo of it and said, "Why don't you guys redo it?" So they did. It's called Delilah. It's an amazing song. I love it. You can find it online, and I'm sure they'll do that. But they have a new album out. It's called Americana, but it's spelled a little differently with a K
and an apostrophe.
Mm-hmm. And And by the way, they get their name from the Dire Straits song.
Yeah, so it's actually that's my favorite Dire Straits album. Actually, is Making Movies, and that is the derivation of that. So we got a little theme threading through here.
Mark Knopfler's all over this show.
Yeah, Mark Knopfler's all over this show, and you're probably going to get another big dose of it in 2 weeks. So, and I'll try to keep the dose down fairly low. But just a reminder of that Guy Fletcher, if you're a music nerd. He also talks a lot about the technical aspects of, he's the musical director, and some of the things they do now as far as not using amps and things you put in your ear and stuff like that. Real high-tech stuff. Some of it goes way over my head, too. But another person who's more down and dirty and in a great way is John Hyatt. And he also, there's another, so all these three shows are kind of different. So I guess maybe it isn't that good different a selection, but John Hyatt's been doing things for a long time. He's at Knuckleheads. They continue to bring in great people who still have venues to play at. And John Hyatt certainly is somebody to really sort of drink in what he does.
Yeah, he had been making records for a while before I was introduced to him, and it was with this record called Bring the Family. It came out in, I think, 1987, and it sort of chronicles a really, really low time in his life where he was dealing with substance abuse, and I think his wife committed suicide, and he writes about it. I mean, not directly, but thematically. It's and some great, great songs on that record. It is a little dark, but it's really moving. And then he followed that up with Slow Turning, which is one of my favorite. One of those records, start to finish. You don't have to skip a track at all. I love that record, and then I became a big fan. And but he remarried and found love again. And
so now he's. Who was it? We were talking about this with another
Moreland.
Right.
Yeah. What's his name? The big guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's not the sad bastard anymore.
That's right. The sad bastard music, but yeah, it kind of sometimes life kind of hurts the product a little bit.
Right. Go find your dark muse again, John. But no, he's put out some really good records since then, and has worked with some really great musicians. He's also a really good storyteller. I've seen him this way twice. This is going to be solo acoustic, just him telling stories and singing songs. I saw him way back. I think it was at the Folly there was Joe Ely, Guy Clark, one of the greatest American songwriters ever, Lyle Lovett, and John Hyatt. And they just told us story about a song, played the song, moved on. You know, it was like this. They were in a line, but it was like a songwriter circle,
right?
And it was brilliant. I'll never forget that night. Guy Clark was such a treasure. Was deep Texan, got a drawl, very colorful. Speaks poetically, even writes poetically too, or wrote poetically. But that was, and they were all. He was really good friends with Townes Van Zandt, one of the greatest songwriters ever. Also, so that was fun. But then, I think it was in 2011, John Hyatt and Lyle Lovett came to the Uptown and did the same thing. It's just back and forth telling stories, and Lyle Lovett's so funny. He would sometimes interject and tell a story about John Hyatt's song. You know, like he had something really clever to say about it. So that's what this night's going to be like, except it's just going to be him. It'll be more or less a monologue. But he's really good at it. He tells funny stories. He's funny, and his songs are great. It's going to be, I'm sad to miss that.
And just we always should give a nod to Knuckleheads, and they continue to bring amazing shows and opportunities, and they have so many little venues that they can create opportunities for it. It's just a great spot, and it's really turned into a Kansas City treasure. Yeah,
nobody's doing it like Frank does, because he does have he has 4.5 venues there now, stages, and one of them is in the garage, and I don't think they use it if the big stage is being used, so it's one or the other. But it's just like a room where if you only are going to get 50 or 60 people, this would be perfect. It's a little bigger than the Gospel Lounge, which holds like 55, I think, and I love shows in that room. If John Hyatt were going to be in the Gospel Lounge, I would pay $200 to see that. But,
wow.
It would be. I saw, who did I see in there? Matthew Sweet. I saw Samantha Fish do an unplugged set in there once. It was great. So, yeah, and he's also started doing shows. There's a park not far, just east of there, and they had a small festival there, and they do Bluegrass in the Bottoms there too. So yeah, Frank's nobody's more ambitious in this town when it comes to booking live music because he's got a lot going on.
It certainly
Sometimes
does.
5 shows on a weekend. Like, it's crazy.
We had a lot going on, too, every time we visit, Tim. It's always a pleasure, and we'll talk to you again in a couple weeks.
See you in a couple weeks, Danny.
All right. That's Tim Finn, and he joins us on our Arts and Lifestyles Wednesday. Lots of topics today. We always have fun talking music every other Wednesday with Tim Finn.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
the Exit Room of Leaves Summit. Come with friends, family, colleagues, or a team to tackle the challenges of this unique escape room.